everyone. Welcome to today's virtual event. My name is Natalie Trudell, and I am the Marketing Manager here at Corporate Renaissance Group. I would just like to take a minute to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us to go through Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group's journey implementing Board for budgeting, planning, and business intelligence. So before we dive in, there's just a few small housekeeping items I would like to note. Today's session is being recorded, and we will send it out to you likely tomorrow so you can revisit and share. So definitely keep an eye out for an email from us with the video. We definitely welcome your questions. So at any time, please type them in your GoToWebinar panel, and we will do our best to get to them at the end of the presentation. This session qualifies for 1 professional development credit hour, and those certificates will be sent out tomorrow along with the video. And finally, we will be looking at some sample data today during the presentation, and I just want to make a note that for obvious reasons, the data is illustrative. So just a little note there. So now let's get on to your host today, who you're going to be listening to for the next little bit. Dr. Vijay Jog is the President and CEO of Corporate Renaissance Group in Ottawa, and Mr. David Porter is the Senior Vice President of OSEG, Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group here in Ottawa as well. So both gentlemen, I know they won't like me saying this, but they have more than 50 years of combined experience in the finance world, as well as immense knowledge of financial management solutions and systems. Vijay and David, thank you for presenting today, and I will let you take it from here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natalie. Just to let everybody know, the agenda is very straightforward. Agenda is about how OSEG's journey with Board started, what challenges they had, what was the planning, what was the design and build, what is about the execution, and what is the next in their journey. And then, as Natalie mentioned, there'll be questions and answers. Put them in your GoToWebinar panel, and we'll answer that at the end of the presentation. I hope everybody can hear it well, and let's begin. So just to let you know, we are a firm in the financial management and system space for almost 30 years. We have a level 7 framework that we use to deliver expert management consulting guidance, and we also use leading software and technology solutions to improve performance, Board being one of the solutions we use. And we have large number of clients and a very good group of business and financial and technology experts in the firm. We are also OSEG's partner in their MS Dynamics ERP and all their systems and solutions. And they partner with us because of our extensive experience in, as Natalie said, finance systems integration, and of course, as you will see today, Board. So our journey with Board, we do end-to-end planning with Board. We are a Board partner as well. We do financial and management external reporting. We create dashboards. Board allows us to do financial consolidation, including multi-currency. It is also a BI platform, so anything to do with BI can be done within Board. It also is a performance management platform, so those of you who use balance scorecard or strategy maps, you can model them and display them in Board. We build an HR analytics framework in Board as well, and of course we do training and support. So our level 7 framework is really designed for CFOs who want to create or demonstrate value for the enterprise. So we start with value-based management. We do corporate performance management. We use Board as a tool. We do talent management. We have a CRGM Perform as a solution for managing talent. We do business intelligence, which is data to decisions. Again, we use Board for that. We also do collaboration for most of the organizations. We are a Microsoft partner, so we use all Microsoft technology, including, of course, Dynamics CRM and Office 365. We also have some unique solutions for costing, and of course, we implement ERP systems in the Microsoft space. So we sort of understand finance, financial systems, and what CFOs and enterprises need to run their business from a business improvement performance perspective. So enough about us. I'm going to hand it over to David, and David is going to talk about their journey with Board and in general improving performance reporting and putting financial management reporting controls on the enterprise. So David, over to you.
Thank you very much, Vijay. Let me just quickly give a quick outline of what Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group is for those that are not aware of what we are. We run 3 sports organisations. That is the Red Blacks, which is a CFL football team, the Fury, which is in the USL League and is a soccer team. The 67s is an OHL ice hockey team. We have venue management and concerts and major events. And we also manage the Lansdowne retail property and the urban market. So OSEG, we have approximately just over 100 games and events each year. We have 34 departments and we have 10 companies. So keeping all of that financial information and reporting it to a number of stakeholders is quite difficult, and it's something that needed to be simplified. So we had to implement a solution that would allow that to happen. Some of the business challenges, and these business challenges aren't just what OSEG experiences, they're business challenges that pretty much all organisations experience. First of all, most chart of accounts are not set up to optimalise reporting. Finance reports were not designed with users in mind. A lot of finance reports are designed by financial people and is reams of information that users that aren't financially based usually have difficulty with. Budgeting was done in Excel, and while Excel is a fantastic tool, it can lead to a lot of difficulties when you need to change numbers in your budgets. For OSEG, individual games and event budgeting and reporting was not timely. To pull the actual information together in a timely manner was very difficult. However, with a tool like Board, we could pull that information very quickly. We have limited integration between the finance and our underlying subsystems. So, for instance, our ticketing system was not linked into our finance system. So we had to manually upload information. So that was a big problem, certainly with respect to making reports timely. There was also financial data reliability issues, because we would report something on one day and then a week later we would have a different report. It got to the stage where there was actually people within the organisation that would start to produce their own reports because they weren't relying on the information that was coming out of finance. Limited flexibility with reforecasting. So as you can imagine, at the beginning of the year, when we put a budget together, we don't have a great idea of exactly when all the games will occur, because the schedule for the CFL season or the OHL season isn't out. We do a lot of concerts that we estimate, for instance, to have 20 concerts a year. However, we have no idea when those concerts will occur. So it's very difficult to then get into the middle of the year and change the timing. With a tool like Board, we can do that very simply. And also, dashboards were not utilised in day-to-day operations. Dashboards are a great way for non-financial people to understand the information. Okay, so the solution was, first of all, in OSEG, to put in a new chart of accounts, to design a data warehouse, and then to implement Board as the reporting tool. So this is just an example of some of the underlying subsystems that were not linked in to our original finance system. We've linked them into now our data warehouse. So Pacquiao is our ticketing system. Solex was our casual labour. Retail Pro is for our merchandise. Shopify is also for merchandise. So we then built a data warehouse. The information from the data warehouse is also taken into Great Plains, and Board sits over the top of the data warehouse to pull all the information together and then report it to the end user. So one of the initial solution was to implement Board for budgeting, and I think most organisations move towards Board or a similar BI software for budgeting purposes. So what that gave us was we were able to do budgeting reports within the software itself, and we could also export information in there into Excel spreadsheets that are linked linked back to Board, so as you could input remotely and then pull the information back into the software. It allowed us to look at home and away games on a standalone basis, and then with allocations be able to take all the revenue and the expenses and allocate it across various departments and companies, which in an Excel-based world is very difficult to do. The same thing happens with events. We could budget for events as a separate incident and then allocate their costs across the departments and companies. I can tell you that in the old world, when you do allocations like this in an Excel spreadsheet, it can sometimes take you up to 4 or 5 hours to make changes in Board that happens instantaneously. All the personnel data that we have for our budgets was imported from ADP and then allocated with tax calculations and benefits across to the departments, which made budgeting for personnel costs very, very easy. Our P&L, we have direct input from the module. So when we look at the home and away games, there is information from those games that go into a department, plus I'm allowed to add additional expenses into each individual department, which we'll show you when we go through a few example slides. Okay, so this is basically our statement of earnings, and as Natalie said in the beginning, the numbers are only indicative. They're not real numbers. So what it does is this then summarizes all the information that we put into the budget at any point in time and tells you where you are. So we import all our information from 2017 into the board module, and then we started to build the 2018 budget. I can then look at it. If you can see over the left of the screen, we have 10 companies. I can look at it as all the companies pulled together, or I can go down to an individual company. I can look at it by department, so I can look at a department across all companies or within one company, and I have different versions of the budget, and I also have different levels, whether I want to look into, for instance, salaries and benefits is rolled up. I can go down to the individual natural account level and see what my actuals and my budgets are for that. When looking at home games and away games, certainly for home games, I can look at my ticket pricing. I can either do it by game or else I can do it as by the sport. So, for instance, this could be looking at a Fury game, or in fact, it's a red-black game, and it tells you what I think the pricing of the seats will be throughout the year. And then I can do it individually and then look at all the individual fees that make up the actual price of the tickets. So I have food and beverage, I have parking, I have of credit card fees. There's a number of different fees that are added into a ticket price. So I then get the pricing by the different category of tickets that we have. Now, in this example here, I think we have about 9 different categories. In reality, we probably have 30 categories of tickets. So you can budget down to 30 categories if you actually want to. Once you've got all the information in, I can then say when I expect the actual game to occur. So this is where the timing of that game is going to occur. Now, when I set the budget, which is usually around November, December of the preceding year, I have no idea when that actual game will occur. So I can go in here and estimate when I think it's going to be. Once the actual draw comes out, I then go in and just change the month of when that game will actually occur. So in previous versions, when that was in an Excel spreadsheet, that made my month-to-month budget very, very difficult to update. In this, once you change the timing of the event, it instantaneously updates, and then your monthly budgets are updated as well. So again, a click of the button ends up updating budgets on a monthly basis in 5 minutes. Home game expenses. You can see that I've got by departments here. So these are all the different departments that in this case is a red-black home game. I can go into each department and by game tell you how much I think I'm going to actually budget for that game. So it can be different for each game or it can be exactly the same. In this case, all the budgets are exactly the same. So it's looking at the home game expenses of everything I incur for a game. This is done in a separate module, and all this information then gets taken from here and allocated to the various companies and natural accounts and departments according to our allocation module that we have. Again, with concerts, at the beginning of the year, I may budget for 20-25 concerts, and I have no idea in the year when those concerts will be. So I go in and estimate when I think those concerts will be. When I actually find out when it will be, I will go in and change it to the actual month that it is in, and then that will update my monthly budget. Exactly the same as what's done in the sports and where the team events are put into their schedule once that schedule comes out. When I look at the P&L, I can go down to my natural account. This is rolling up my P&L into the various subcategories. I have all of my revenue and I have all of my expenses. And once I click on each category, I can go down to a natural account level. This will actually tell you what happens because within a natural account in our budget, we have two ways for that natural account to have costs associated with it. One is from the module that we have built, so the concerts, the team events, all bring in costs. So for instance, in casual labour, I know I have casual labour for a game when it's a red-black game. So that gets assigned to a natural account within a department, within a company. Now, that department and company may also have additional casual staff costs that are not incurred as part of an event or a team game. So you can go in and add additional budgets, and the total budget from the modules, which is generated through the games, and then the data entry becomes the budget for that department and natural accounts. Board reporting and analytics. So what we've done here is we've come up with a statement of earnings. So in board, you have a statement of earnings, and we've imported all the transactional data from our finance system, which is Microsoft Dynamics GP. And so therefore within board, we can actually drill into all of our statement of activities down to the transactional level. In the future, we may actually drill down to a PDF copy of an invoice, for example, so board has the capability of doing that. We also have introduced dashboard reporting, which wasn't done previously. For non-financial people, dashboard reporting is one of the most powerful tools within board, and that is where those non-financial people start to actually pay attention and understand the information that is being generated, as opposed to giving non-financial people reams and reams of financial data that ends up being meaningless for them. We've also automated our monthly reporting package. So our board and our senior management committee look at a reporting package that is somewhere in the vicinity of 20 to 25 different pages. And that was usually a manual process to produce. Now that's been automated within board, so as at the end of the month, our monthly reporting package is generated within board. This is looking at our actual dashboard. So you can see it's supposed to be a graphical representation, so as non-financial people can actually look at it and understand what's going on. So basically what we've got over on the left-hand side of the screen is our actuals versus budget on a month-to-date basis. Now, every line within that statement can be drilled into down to a transactional level, as I said. So I can drill into travel and living expenses, go down to the natural account. Then within the natural account, I'll drill down into the actual transactions that occurred in that month. Up the top on the left-hand side, I have a traffic light board. So what this is supposed to do is if the color is green within that company, that means that it's within 10% of budget. If the color is yellow, that means it's within 10 to 20% of budget. And if it's red, it means it's either under or over budget by 20%. Therefore, looking straight at this screen, you'll be able to see where the issues are. Now, as we said in the beginning, this is not based on real data, so there's a lot of red squares here. If that was actually what occurred, we would have a lot of problems because there would be a lot of information there that says that we have major variances. So hopefully you look at this dashboard and there's a lot of green squares. On the right-hand side, we have a graphical representation of our revenue, operating expenses, and our net income by budget versus actual. And then the actual revenue variance saying what percentage it is and whether it's up or down, so whether it's favourable or unfavourable. This slide is exactly the same as the actuals and budget on a month-to-date. However, it goes through the same information, but on a year-to-date basis. So again, the user is getting used to seeing the same information displayed, but it's rather than month-to-date, it's now year-to-date. So once they understand how this works, they can then look at it and they know exactly where they want to go and look at. The traffic lights, again, are beside every line item within the statement of earnings, as well as the traffic light board up the top. When we look at team games, we also have a dashboard for that, which on the left-hand side has a graphical representation of our revenue and our expenses. And then on the right-hand side, there's a detailed analysis of each game. So you could select one individual game and look at that game to say, what was its actual versus budget? Or you could select a month and look at all the games during that month, or on a year-to-date basis, all the games up to that point in time. There are two tabs on the right-hand side. You'll see it says financial and statistics. So the first tab actually looks at the financial information. Now, all this information, again, can be drilled down to the transactional level within Great Plains. So I can drill into salaries and benefits and go down to the individual department and then down to their natural account and then into the transactional level. If you go to the next slide, it gives you the exact same games that you've chosen, and then it goes through some of the statistical information that we want to look at. So, for instance, it tells me how many tickets were paid, how many complimentary tickets were put out. It tells me what my drop count is, what my drop count percentage is. It goes through a lot of the per cap information, which in the sporting industry is very useful to tell me what was my average ticket price, what was my average food and beverage, what was my average merchandise per actual person that turned up to the game. So all the statistical information and financial information sit in one dashboard and is very easily accessed. For major concerts, it works exactly the same as the team schedules do. I can look at all the major concerts with the same type of information. I've got a graphical representation, I have all the financial information, and I have all the statistical information as well, so that I can look at what their statement of earnings for each individual concert was. I can look at it against budget. I can look at it on a year-to-date basis to find out how I'm going. So the same information is presented for teams as is presented for concerts. As I said a few minutes ago, the monthly package, which is quite a large package, is now produced by the actual system itself. So all of these reports draw data from the data warehouse, from the actual finance system, and pull them in so that I have everything in one package together. So at the end of the month, it's now a matter of pushing a button to get my management report, as opposed to taking probably 3 to 4 days to compile all of these reports. The next steps that we have for the board system is looking at the budget process. Now, we implemented board at the end of 2017 and implemented it for the 2018 budget. So we have some improvements that can be made. You can always improve. There's obviously some things that we can refine and do better, so we'll have to improve that process. We can look at board as a business intelligence and look at getting more information from the underlying systems. For instance, we don't look at a lot of the information that is contained within our ticketing system, and we can use that information a lot more in board to predict what is going to happen into the future. We have to bring in more subsystems into our data warehouse, which will help improve our analytics. And basically, we'll be constantly updating board and making it better. Board is an extremely flexible tool. And one of the things that a lot of people, I've implemented board in 2 organizations now, and one of the big mistakes that I think a lot of people make is that they try to turn board into just a replication of Excel. It's a lot more than that. You can do a lot of business case analysis. There's a lot of very rich tools within board. You've got to step outside and think of it more than just a replication of Excel. There's a lot of business applications that you can use board for. And basically, we have to follow the CRG methodology, which, VJ, if you can go to the next slide, will take us through. We have to analyze, design, and deploy. So we have to spend a lot of time analyzing what you actually want to build within board, then design it, and then deploy it. The time spent on analysis of what you want is very, very important, because it's very difficult to undo a design if it's not done properly in the first place.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Thank you, VJ. We wrapped up a little earlier than expected, and that's good because we have some questions flooding in. Yeah, thank you again, David. That was a great representation of how OSEG is using board. I think it's clear it's a very powerful tool, a lot of options available. And the questions we're getting in relate to your actual implementation of board. So the first one was about the management team. Was there resistance from your management team, and how did you present the business case to them?
The business case, I probably didn't do that the way that it should be done, because this is my second, as I said, this is the second time that I've implemented board in an organisation. When I came into this organisation, I was told up front of some of the obstacles that they were facing, and those obstacles were pretty much looking at the analysis and the reporting that was coming out of their finance system. The fact that I had used board before and done a lot of research into what the best types of tools were to use it meant that I kind of came back with a case to say, yes, this is the actual answer to your problems. So I didn't get a lot of input from them and buy-in. They trusted me with saying, this is the way that I think it should go, and I was brought in here to actually fix it up, and that's exactly what I think board has done. So the business case was presented to me that this is what the outcome had to be. I had to come up with the tool to do it, and board was the correct tool.
Okay, excellent. The next one relates to Dynamics GP. We are looking at an ERP system and budgeting. Should we do these simultaneously or sequentially?
Yeah, well, I can take that on if you would like. Our experience really is that unless you do what David did to make sure that the financial system correctly represents your accounting-related information, once you do that, then putting a budgeting or planning system works. We have one client where we tried to do that simultaneously, and collectively both the client and us now realize that not only that was ambitious to begin with, it also distracted people because we're talking about budgeting one day and talking about financial systems the other day. It created a lot of challenges for them with respect to their time commitment, to their day-to-day job. And as we discovered new things on their financial system, we had to make changes in their budgeting system. So to answer the question, to be frank with you, let's make sure that your ERP system or your accounting system is in place. Doesn't have to be in place entirely, but the design is in place. So analysis is being done, design is in place. That design gets signed off by senior management, and after that, you can fork towards implementing the ERP system and building on that design, the budgeting system. David, what do you think?
I would just add one thing. I agree entirely. Unless you've had previous experience with your finance system and the BI software that you're trying to implement, it would be very difficult to do those simultaneously because to actually put in a solution like board takes a lot of energy and time, and you have to do it properly in the first place, because if you don't implement it properly, it will always cause you issues. And so to devote that time to do it with two systems would be extremely difficult.
Thank you both. Another question here from Tina, and it's about what other financial systems does board interact with? So that's a great question.
Oh, maybe that I should take that.
Yes.
Board is actually completely ERP neutral. It connects with almost any ERP system you think about. We have clients now, over 25 clients, and we probably have, I don't have offhand a count of that, but maybe 8 ERP systems, from SAP to Oracle to Navision to Vision to, of course, Dynamics GP. So we haven't encountered any issues linking to any ERP system. Boards. The good thing about board is it connects to an ERP system, assuming it's ODBC connectable. Excuse the technical jargon, and it connects to data warehouse. So really, financial systems are almost not an issue with respect to implementing board.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to remind everyone else too that we're going to try to get to all of these. If you have questions, please get them in. I have another one that relates to how managers are using board, which is good because David, you spoke a lot about dashboards and how it's a good tool for managers and non-financial people in the organization. Are managers in your organization held accountable for monitoring the dashboards, and how is that done?
Yes, they are, and I can tell you that in both organisations where I've implemented board, the actual implementation of board has ensured that managers then actually understand their financial information. So in the last organisation that I worked at before OSEG, I produced a slew of reports or the finance produced a slew of reports for all senior management, and probably maybe, if we were lucky, 50% of senior management would actually look at those reports and understand them in detail. Once we built dashboards within board, I would probably say to 80 to 90% started to understand the financial data that was given to them. Certainly at OSEG, I think before we built board, I would say that the financial managers had a fairly good understanding of their individual departments, but not down to the detailed level. Implementing board has brought that 360 degrees. They now all go into it and use it on a monthly basis. We actually have monthly meetings where it's no longer the finance person that sits there and does a variance analysis. Each individual manager has to do their own variance analysis and basically uses board to do that. So it's now allowed people to find the financial information and understand it and be able to explain it very easily.
Wonderful, thank you. Another question I have about reports as well is distributing the reports.
Sorry?
Distributing the reports to the managers and the financial managers.
How do you do?
How do you distribute those reports is the question.
We still actually email the reports. We don't produce the reports and publish them inside board. It's downloaded into Excel, and most of the time it's then printed into a PDF file and emailed around to the appropriate people. So the actual monthly financial reports is still emailed in a PDF file.
Thank you. One more here about your revenue models. Can you tell us how you built the revenue model for the games or events?
You know, David, maybe I'll take you back to one of your slides. Maybe that will be easy to explain, you think?
Sure.
Okay, give me 1 second and tell me when to stop. I think I know enough to be dangerous here.
This actually tells you the price of a ticket. You can see on the screen, the next tab tells you the paid. So every game we then say how many tickets we think will be sold in each category. Then the next tab, which says DE comp, that means data entry complementary tickets. So it tells you how many complementary tickets we think we're going to have for each game. And then the drop. The drop is actually the drop count. So in reality, if I sell 1,000 tickets, I know that 1,000 people will not turn up. So I estimate that, say, 90% of the tickets sold will actually turn up to the game, because all of my food and beverage, all of my merchandise calculations are based on the drop count, the actual number of people that come into the stadium by a per cap. So let's say food and beverage per cap was $10 a person. If I sold 2,000 people, 2,000 tickets, and I had 1,800 actually turn up, I would then say 1,800 times my per cap of $10, which would give me $18,000. So that's how the revenue is actually calculated by, I look at the price, the paid, the complimentary tickets, I multiply it by a drop count, and then that comes up with the actual attendance and the revenue that I come out in my budget.
And a reminder to everybody, because I know the numbers are pretty small, we will be sending out a copy of the PowerPoint slides in PDF format along with the video and your certificate. So you'll have the slides available and you can run through that as well. Okay, a couple more questions here, David. This is back to management reporting as well. Can managers log in to view the financial reports and drill into their own transactions?
They certainly can. So in our reporting module, everyone has access to all reports and they have access to all data. The only thing that we have to hide is our payroll, and basically down to the transactional level. Once you drill down to the transactional level in payroll, we actually take out all names, and it just goes back to a journal entry into the natural account. So all managers and all staff that have access into the system have access into everything down to the transactional level.
Wonderful, thank you. The next question is about implementing board. How many people were involved in the implementation, and how were those 180 days spent? So in the promotional material for this webinar, we advertised that OSEG got started with this in 180 days, which they did. So I think this person wants to know how that was broken down and who was involved.
There was probably from CRG, I would suspect that the team would have been 4 or 5 people, but with the head designer was mainly there full time, and the other people would come and go. From OSEG's point of view, I suspect we probably had 3 people involved with it. I was heavily involved with it myself, and my reporting manager was very heavily involved. So I would say 2 people were involved almost full-time on implementing, like full-time on doing the implementation. That was helping with the design. That doesn't mean we spent 40 hours a week for 180 days doing it. But the 2 staff members from here were on there for that full 6 months trying to figure out how to build it.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I think that's it for questions right now. Anything that we haven't answered, we'll certainly follow up with those individuals. David, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining today. Hopefully we shed a little bit of insight on how OSEG got started with a very sophisticated budgeting and planning process. If you have other questions or would like to learn more about board or anything that we discussed today, we invite you to contact us directly. You can call us or send us an email. We also offer free budgeting and planning assessments. So right now, if you're using Excel or using another system and you're considering a switch, the consultants here at CR Group will actually work with you to analyze your needs and give you a plan to see if that's feasible for you. So if that's something you are interested in, definitely contact us. Another reminder, we will be sending an email out with the video, the slides, as well as your certificate. And thank you all again for joining, and thank you to Vijay and David.
Thank you for all.
Thank you.